Ever just wish you could hit a reset button on your whole day? Or maybe even your whole life? Well, today we're going to dig into this really powerful idea from a sermon called Awake the Dawn. It's all about how a single line of ancient poetry can actually become a practical guide for, daily renewal. Let's jump in and see how it all works.
So, the whole teaching we're looking at today, it really all comes down to this one powerful line from the Psalms. Awake, harp and lyre, I will awaken the dawn. It sounds poetic, right? But it's actually the anchor for everything else we're about to talk about.
And that right there is the big question. Is this just some pretty language, or is there something more? Is there like a real instruction hidden in there? The sermon argues that yes, it's a powerful call to action, and that's exactly the journey we're going to take today. All right, so let's get into the first big idea. The sermon frames this phrase not as something that just happens to you, but as something you're actually supposed to do. It's an active instruction, a command, really.
So, what exactly is the dawn? Well, it's kind of got a double meaning here. On the one hand, yeah, it's that literal, super quiet time right before the sun comes up. But the sermon says it's also this powerful metaphor, It's a symbol for a whole new season in your life, that moment of hope, that fresh start we all crave.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where the sermon kind of flips the whole idea on its head. The main point is this: you don't just sit around and wait for a new beginning to show up. No way. You're the one who has to kickstart it. You awaken the dawn. The dawn doesn't just come and wake you up.
So, the practical takeaway here is to really use that quiet time. Before the emails start flooding in, before the notifications start pinging, before all the noise of the day takes over. That quiet little window is presented as the perfect time to connect, to listen, and just get some clarity for the day ahead.
Okay, so we've got the dawn part down. Now let's dig into the next layer of this metaphor, because it really builds on itself. We're talking about those instruments mentioned in the verse.
Remember, the verse says, awake, harp and lyre. But here's the thing. The sermon suggests you don't need to run out and buy an actual harp. It's not about physical instruments. The harp and the lyre, they're symbols for something we all have inside us.
So what are they then? What are these instruments? Well, according to the teaching, it's not something you hold in your hands, it's something that's already inside you. It's your built-in capacity for worship. It's like this music that's already in your spirit, just waiting for you to wake it up. And this inner music, what is that exactly? The sermon breaks it down as your most fundamental joy and hope. It's your core purpose. It's even framed as the very key that unlocks your destiny. Think about that. It's something even more important than your day-to-day passions or wants.
Okay, this brings us to another really cool metaphor the sermon uses. It helps explain how this whole awakening thing works and what you actually get out of it. And it's all about something called the do.
So the idea is when you awaken that inner music in the morning, you're actually putting yourself in the perfect position to receive this really subtle daily blessing, which the sermon poetically calls the dew of heaven.
And to make this idea super clear, the sermon uses a great analogy. Think about rain, right? Rain is obvious, it can be disruptive, you definitely can't miss it when it's happening, but dew. Dew is totally different. It's quiet, it's subtle, and honestly, a lot of the time we don't even notice it's there, even though it shows up every single morning. So what is this dew, really? It's a metaphor for God's mercies. And the sermon connects this idea to a passage in the book of Lamentations that says these mercies are brand new every single morning. That's a huge point. It means the blessing you got yesterday isn't the same one that's waiting for you today. It's fresh. And think about it. Just like real dew refreshes the earth and helps little plants start to grow, this spiritual dew, these daily mercies, are meant to do the same for you. They're there to refresh your spirit, nourish your soul, and get you ready for new growth in your own life.
Okay, so we've got the dawn, the inner music, and the dew. Now, let's put it all together. Let's get to the final, practical part. How do you actually get this daily refreshment? The sermon's conclusion really boils it all down to one thing: your mindset. The whole argument is that you just can't receive a fresh, new blessing if you're still stuck in an old way of thinking. It doesn't work. To get something new, you have to make a conscious shift in your mind.
So what's the problem with that old mindset? Well, according to this teaching, it's basically programmed for yesterday. It's always carrying around old burdens. It defaults to negativity, because let's be honest, sometimes that feels more familiar.
And the biggest problem? It's just not wired to even see that subtle daily dew of God's favor when it shows up.
So the whole thing gets broken down into these 4 steps. First, you start in quiet stillness so you can actually listen. Second, you awaken that inner music, that worship. Third, you make an active choice to let go of yesterday's baggage. Just leave it behind. And finally, you step into your day with this powerful new belief that today's mercies are fresh and they're available for you, right now.
And just like that, we've gone from one single line of scripture all the way to a really powerful daily practice you can use for your own spiritual and mental renewal.
So to wrap it all up, this whole teaching is really about transformation. It takes this phrase, awake the dawn, and turns it from something you just read in a book into something you can actually do. It becomes this daily invitation to hit reset, to refresh, and to walk into a new day with a totally new mindset.
And that really leaves us with one final thought, one question to ponder. The sermon says that mercy is brand new every single morning. So what if your mindset was too? What could change if you actually trained your mind to meet that fresh start every day? What could you achieve with a mindset that was as new and fresh as the dawn itself?